You stare into the deep prehistoric forest as a twig snaps in the cold darkness. A massive shadow moves slowly through the ancient trees.
No! Just a desperate, hollow gasp.
For 99% of human history, this terrifying silence was not just a nightmare. It was your
Today, the average modern human speaks about 16,000 words a day. You complain about traffic, text your friends, and argue online effortlessly.
But how did your early ancestors survive the deadliest predators on Earth when they could not even say a single, simple word?
To understand this terrifying handicap, you must look inside your own skull, specifically at a small biological miracle hiding deep in your neck. Meet your early hominin ancestor. If you place them next to a modern person, the difference is shocking. Look closely at your modern friend's face. Your jaw is small, pushed far back, and your vocal cords sit very low inside your throat.
Now look at the ancient human. Their jaw is massive, built for chewing raw, tough roots and raw meat for hours every day.
This high placement means they can actually breathe and swallow at the exact same time without choking. It is a brilliant biological survival mechanism.
But there is a massive evolutionary trade-off. With the voice box trapped so high, there is zero space for an echoing sound chamber.
Hoot. Grunt. Squawk.
So, imagine being trapped in the dark woods. A predator is stalking your group, and you cannot yell, "Run," or hide behind the rock. Without a shared spoken language to coordinate a quick defense, your tribe is basically walking prey. Yet, somehow, they did not go extinct. But eventually, something shifted in the human body. To understand how you got your voice, look at what happens when you drink a glass of water today. Has a sip of water ever gone down the wrong pipe, leaving you coughing and gasping for air? That terrifying moment is a uniquely modern human experience. No other mammal on Earth chokes on its food as easily as you do. To scientists, this deadly flaw is actually the ultimate biological trade-off.
Around 300,000 years ago, as hominin brains grew, the face flattened. To make room, the larynx was forced to drop lower down your neck.
This evolutionary shift created a massive empty space above your vocal cords. It gave you suddenly, an ah could be distinguished from an e. This biological change was the absolute foundation required for any
Only a tiny flap of tissue stands between your dinner and your lungs. If it fails for just a fraction of a second, you could easily choke to death. Evolution made a terrifying calculation. The ability to communicate complex ideas was deemed more valuable than a stairway.
So, as your ancestors' throats physically evolved, their simple grunts began to stretch into deliberate, controlled calls. Instead of inventing, they used what they already heard.
Tweet, tweet. Tweet, tweet.
The deadly predator ignores the natural bird sound, walking right past your hiding spot. Before grammar existed, this acoustic chick, 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 chuck. Chick, chick, chuck. Chick, chuck.
Chuck.
Chick, chick, chuck. This biological upgrade allowed for a brutal new survival strategy, a method of hunting so exhausting, it would push the human body to its...
You do not have sharp claws or blinding speed, but you have something no other animal has, the ability to sweat and coordinate.
Chuck, chuck. Chuck. Chuck, chuck, chuck. Chuck.
You chase the animal for hours until it collapses from heat stroke. This is persistence hunting, a brutal method that kept your ancestors alive.
But surviving this way came with a heavy cost. Eating raw, tough meat required massive jaw muscles that anchored directly to the skull.
These enormous muscles acted like a tight biological cage. They literally squeezed the skull, preventing the early human brain from growing any larger. Anthropologists note that as long as your ancestors had to chew raw food all day, their brains were trapped in an evolutionary dead end.
Then, roughly 1 million years ago, a random spark changed the trajectory of your entire species. Your ancestors finally captured and controlled fire. You place a tough slab of meat onto the glowing coals. The intense heat breaks down the tough proteins, doing the chewing for you.
According to Harvard primatologist Richard Wrangham, cooked food was the ultimate biological hack. It unlocked
Over thousands of generations, your ancestors' bodies realized they no longer needed a giant mouth. The heavy jaw muscles slowly began to shrink.
With the muscular cage finally gone, the skull was free to expand. Your ancestors.
And as the face flattened to accommodate this giant new brain, the voice box was pushed down, unlocking that dangerous but magical echo chamber.
But fire did not just change the physical shape of your skull. It fundamentally altered the way your ancestors interacted with time itself.
Before fire, the terrifying darkness meant total silence and sleep. Now the glowing campfire artificially extended the day.
You sit around the warm flames, looking at the faces of your tribe. Survival is done for the day. Now, something completely new begins.
Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied how fire fundamentally changed human language. She spent years observing modern.
The hunt was meager. I only found 3 berries.
We need more!
The sun is too hot to keep looking. Go hunt there. Gather those roots. Watch out for that snake.
But the moment the brutal sun drops and the warm campfire is lit, the entire nature of human language completely flips upside down.
Wiesner found that at night, over 80% of firelight conversation suddenly shifts away from survival and transforms.
You sit by the crackling flames. The fire creates a glowing bubble of safety, blinding you to the terrifying darkness lurking just beyond. Because you are finally safe from predators, your brain's fight or flight response turns off. You do not need to scan the grass for tigers anymore.
In this relaxed state, language evolved beyond just pointing at physical things. You begin to use words to paint pictures in other people's minds.
You wouldn't believe what happened yesterday. The hunt was incredible. We chased the biggest deer. We did. Look what I found in the forest today.
That's amazing.
I think it means we can move towards the valley.
The future.
Linguists call this incredible leap displacement. It is the unique biological ability to talk about things, places, or events that are not physically present.
Staring into the fire also triggers a massive release of oxytocin in your brain. This chemical makes you feel deep empathy and intense social bonding.
You listen to the elders chant, and you start seeing invisible monsters and heroes dancing in the dark air above the warm, glowing coals.
These late-night storytelling sessions were not just prehistoric entertainment. They were the evolutionary forge that fundamentally rewired human.
However, to go from simple campfire stories to complex, rapid-fire grammar, your ancestors needed one final, bizarre genetic mutation to lock it all in.
Even with a dropped larynx and an imaginative brain, early humans still faced a massive physical barrier. Talking requires insane mechanical coordination.
To speak a simple modern sentence, your brain must coordinate over 100 different muscles in your face, tongue, and throat in milliseconds.
Oh, oh, oh. Ah, oh, ah. Ugh, ugh. Ugh.
Enter a microscopic biological miracle known as the FOXP2 gene. Scientists and geneticists often refer. This mutation acted like a high-speed software update for the brain. It gave your ancestors the fine motor control needed for rapid-fire speech. For decades, we arrogantly assumed that modern Homo sapiens were the absolute only species lucky enough to possess this advanced biological speech technology on Earth. But in 2007, researchers at the Max Planck Institute made a truly shocking genetic discovery that completely rewrote the timeline of human history. They extracted ancient DNA from Neanderthal bones and found the exact same FOXP2 gene variant that you have in your body right now.
Suddenly, the image of Neanderthals as mindless, grunting brutes was shattered.
Keep still, there's a bear nearby.
However, this remains a massive active debate in the scientific community. Having the hardware does not necessarily mean they had complex grammatical software. Did they just have a vocabulary of basic nouns and verbs? Or could they tell rich, complex stories around the fire like you? Recent archaeological studies of Neanderthal ear bones show they were biologically tuned to hear the exact same audio frequencies as modern human speech. If they could distinctly hear words and they possessed the genetics to speak words, they almost certainly had some form of a functional spoken language.
So, if Neanderthals could talk, why are they extinct while you are watching this video?
So, if Neanderthals could physically speak, why did they vanish? Anthropologists believe the secret weapon of your ancestors was what they chose to discuss.
You didn't just use your new grammar to talk about hunting saber-toothed cats or finding berries. You started talking about other people in your tribe. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar proposed a shocking theory. He argues that modern human language evolved primarily for one distinct purpose: to gossip.
To understand this, look at chimpanzees. They build trust and social bonds by physically picking bugs out of each other's fur for hours.
This physical grooming works perfectly, but only for small groups. You simply do not have enough hours in the day to pet 50 different friends. But as the Ice Age deepened, your ancestors needed to form much larger tribes to survive against massive predators and rival hominin groups.
Physical grooming was no longer biologically viable. If they spent all day picking bugs, they would starve to death. They needed a faster method. Gossip became vocal grooming. By exchanging social information, your ancestors could stroke the egos of several different tribe members at the exact same time. But it was not just about making friends. Gossip was the very first informal justice system. It tracked who was sharing their hunted meat.
If someone in your tribe was stealing food or refusing to help, you whispered about it. Your words acted as an invisible social shield. Trust became a measurable currency. If a hunter was dangerously selfish, the collective gossip would slowly push them out of the safety circle. Dunbar discovered that because of this vocal grooming, the human brain expanded to perfectly manage social networks of exactly 150 people.
This is famous as Dunbar's number. With gossip, your ancestors could maintain a stable, massive army of 150 coordinated individuals. Meanwhile, archaeological evidence suggests Neanderthals remained trapped in much smaller, isolated family groups. They simply couldn't.
When the climate drastically changed, your ancestors used gossip to trade resources across vast interconnected tribes.
But this new vocal superpower did not stop at simply tracking who shared their food. It evolved into something almost magical and extremely powerful.
Your ancestors began using their complex new language to invent and describe things that did not physically exist anywhere in the natural world.
Sitting by the fire, an elder tells you about an invisible spirit watching over the forest. You feel a chill, even though nothing is there.
Historians call this the cognitive revolution. It is the unique human ability to deeply believe in shared fictions, like myths, gods, and rules. Because you all believe in the same invisible stories, thousands of complete strangers can suddenly trust each other and cooperate on a massive scale. But this incredible imaginative power also gave birth to the very first strict social laws, and they were enforced with ruthless psychological pressure.
Imagine the best hunter in your tribe returning with a massive, fat animal. He drops it by the fire, expecting endless praise and worship.
Instead, the entire group openly mocks him. They laugh and complain that the meat is just a useless, pathetic bag of skinny bones.
The hunter simply bows his head and quietly shares the food. This sounds incredibly ungrateful to a modern mind, but it was a calculated survival strategy. Anthropologist Richard Lee observed this exact behavior in the Jushwansi tribe. They call it insulting the meat, and it is an ancient mechanism for equality. In an ancient tribe, arrogance is absolutely dangerous. If one person believes they are superior, they might try to become a tyrant and hoard resources. To prevent this, your ancestors used language as a psychological weapon. Ruthless gossip and mockery were deployed to completely crush anyone's ego before it grew.
By constantly humbling the most successful members, the tribe ensured that everyone remained perfectly equal.
Language was no longer just a way to warn others about a hidden snake. It became a powerful, invisible cage that strictly controlled human behavior.
And that exact same social enforcement mechanism is still running deep inside your head today, dictating almost everything you do in modern human society.
You stand in front of a modern crowd to give a simple presentation. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your throat goes completely dry.
You are not actually afraid of simply speaking words aloud. Biologically, the brain doesn't fear the microphone itself, but rather the crowd of eyes looking at it.
Your brain is running an ancient, outdated survival script. Deep inside your nervous system, it vividly... In the brutal Stone Age, standing out from the tribe and facing their collective, harsh judgment meant you could be completely ostracized.
And as you already know, being pushed out of the 150-person safety network was an absolute, guaranteed death sentence.
This deep biological programming is exactly why getting rejected online or losing followers feels so incredibly and genuinely painful to you today. Neurological studies show that experiencing social rejection literally triggers the exact same pain receptors in your brain as a severe physical injury.
To your ancient evolutionary hardware, a mean comment or social isolation is not just a digital insult. It is a fatal threat. This is known as an evolutionary mismatch. You currently live in a digital world of billions, but you possess the nervous system of a prehistoric hunter.
Every single time you gossip with a friend, you are satisfying a 300,000-year-old instinct explicitly designed to keep you alive.
Wow.
Really?
The massive biological price your ancestors paid for this voice, the constant daily risk of choking to death, was ultimately worth it.
It allowed them to share magical firelight stories, invent invisible gods, enforce strict social laws, and ultimately conquer the...
Today, you stare into a glowing modern screen as a digital notification snaps sharply in the quiet, safe darkness of your comfortable bedroom.
You open an app, immediately drowning in a chaotic, endless sea of 16,000 daily words from strangers you will never meet.
For 99% of human history, terrifying silence was your ancestors' daily nightmare. Today, true silence is a biological